Clemson has reached new heights under Brad Brownell, but the road ahead in March Madness just is getting tougher. If Clemson wants to make noise in the tournament, someone has to step up and step up fast. That's all coming up right now on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of this show, and part-time host and producer over on 105.5 and 97.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to follow me over on X at The Morgan T Show, where I talk about all things Clemson athletics in between episodes. Hey, today's episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Stay with us for the Armada Team of the Week later on in this episode. All right, coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about Clemson's biggest challenges heading into the NCAA tournament, who needs to step up for Dillon Hunter in his absence, and can Clemson avoid that slow start against McNeese State like they had against Louisville. Well, really, it wasn't a slow start against Louisville, but it was kind of a slow start after halftime, if you will. But Clemson's biggest challenge is depth right now. It is their Achilles heel, and you know, my Achilles heel has kind of been hurting me recently, but get a little bit of icy hot for myself, and also Clemson needs a little bit of icy hot themselves. They need more than just icy hot. They need someone else to step in, because if they don't fix this depth problem and shooting problem, is kind of all together, this could sink their tournament dreams. Tiger fans, I'm telling you, this team is riding a wave right now. They're the highest pre-tournament ranking ever, a historic season for them, 5th seed in the region. They're electric to watch. Clemson Hoops is really fun to go to. And I mean, I'm telling you, this is a great time to be a Clemson basketball fan. When is the last time that, you know, Clemson basketball and March Madness has felt like this for you as a Tiger fan? But the ACC tournament semifinal loss to Louisville was kind of a shock, a little bit of a wake-up call to see how much different they're playing these last couple of games. And you know, if I mention this on social media, there's a lot of, oh, well, it's this, or well, it's that, or I even got everybody talking about the basketball. They use Spalding and Wilson and Nike, and they can't shoot because of the basketball. And I'm telling you right now that we can't go down this road of all these outside causes for it. I don't think it's all on the basketball that's causing the shooting to be off right now, the slump. I don't think that it's all on the basketball that is causing some of these head-scratching turnovers. Now, the biggest thing that we really didn't realize, that we all need to admit, is how important Dillon Hunter has been to this team as a starter. And he's sidelined due to injury now. He's not coming back. So there's no option for return for Dillon Hunter for Clemson. So the backcourt is missing its glue now. We know that now that we don't have him. Brad Brownell called him, quote, mesh guy. He slides into any spot possible. He keeps the offense humming, and he delivers when the lights are brightest on him. And he's playing alongside his brother. I know a caller called in on the radio recently and said how important that was, and how unfortunate it was that it's no longer going to have any more games with his brother, because Chase Hunter is going to move on after this. It's kind of sad to see that, but it's also really heartbreaking because they were gelling so well, and they were working so well together on the court with Jaden Zachary, basically a 3-guard set. In this situation, now they can no longer have. Dillon Hunter was the mesh guy. He was the glue. And with them together, you know, I thought that they could go all the way to the Elite Eight. I thought that they could go even farther. A lot of experts are still picking Clemson to go deep in this tournament, and I'm excited for it, and I know you are as well. But Louisville exposed some concerns that Clemson now has, that they don't have Dillon Hunter. You know, the guys that go in and replace, at least in this last game, the guys that went in and replaced Hunter, Heidbreder and Chauncey Wiggins, they just seemed a little bit lost, to be honest with you. They didn't really know when to dribble. They didn't really know when to ask for the ball. Didn't really pass the ball a ton. Dell Jones also was a little bit of a shock for me. Couldn't seem to get it going. Was had a couple turnovers here and there. Heidbreder had a couple of open shots, just couldn't find his flow. He's got to be able to find that flow. That's why they have him. He's one of the best shooters, if not the best shooter on the team from three. So he has to be hitting on all cylinders. He has to get his confidence back. There's a little bit of hesitation there too. Sometimes you see these guys are wide open and it's like they don't know if they want the ball. They don't know if they want to shoot if they do get the ball. If they don't figure this out, it's going to be a death sentence for the rest of this season for Clemson in March Madness in the NCAA tournament, especially against McNeese State. And I hyped him up last game or last podcast rather, and I'm doing this on purpose because I think as Clemson fans we need to be prepared for a tough matchup. I think McNeese State with Will Wade is going to come in and they're going to want to show the nation what they're all about. And who better to show it against not only an ACC powerhouse this season, but against in Will Wade's case, against your alma mater. So I think it's one that you got to be kind of careful with. They've been able to steamroll opponents in their conference with a defense that really doesn't have a lot of cracks, to be honest with you. But have they played the level of talent like a Clemson? I don't think so. So I think Clemson, talent-wise, will outmatch them. But their bench and the guys that are rotating in now for Dillon Hunter cannot be lost. Chase Hunter is going to lead the team. He's going to carry the team. That's the bottom line. That's Clemson's lifeline, as we saw against Louisville. When Louisville started to crack, when they started to not figure things out, when they started going their slump, Chase Hunter got hot. And he can lead the team right back to a very end. And I'm telling you, at the very end, I know it was very controversial whether or not it was a foul or not. I tend to say it wasn't a foul. I tend to say that they swallowed that whistle there. But, they allowed the game to be very rough in all of the ACC tournament, to be honest with you. The referees kind of held the whistle on most of the calls. Chase Hunter is not going to lose his fire. He's going to continue to be his leader. But it kind of goes back around the same way where you had superstars on the football team. They can't do it all by themselves. It's the same thing with Cade Klubnik. He's a leader on the football field, but he can't do everything himself. And when he has to do everything himself, there's flaws. I feel like Chase Hunter is a lot of the same way. He's not Superman. He's not a superhero. He feels like one sometimes when you watch him. He's got that fire in him. He drives hard to the rim. He's clutch when you need him. I think the refs, they could have called it very easily at the very end, but the aggression really is what you need. And I want that aggression to kind of flourish amongst the rest of the team. I feel like it's there with a couple of guys, but it's not there with everybody. And so these guys got to play like this is their last game. Every game is their last game, and because it is. If you lose, you're out. You're done. So that same kind of confidence that they had last season, they got to carry it over this season. And the leaders on the team have. But those guys that are the role players that are now getting thrust back in, some of the guys that maybe were starters lost their position as starter. They got to show up, and they themselves don't have to be superheroes because Chase Hunter is not a superhero. They need to take on a little bit more aggression. They need to take on a little bit more confidence. If you got an open shot, take the open shot. No need for an excessive passing there, but. Also, when you get on your stat sheet and you got 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, or maybe 1 or 2, you're not getting to the foul line and you're playing 30 minutes, that is absolutely unacceptable from anybody at any level of college basketball, youth basketball, high school basketball, whatever it may be. That's unacceptable. You're not passing the ball. You're not blocking. You're not getting rebounds. You're not shooting. You're not even getting to the foul line. You're absolutely like doing nothing at that point. And so Clemson's got to get that aggression. They got to get that confidence from their leader. They got guys that have it, that haven't lost it. The guys around them need to step up, and they need to step up fast because the game's coming up this Thursday. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about who needs to step up, who will be the person to do that and keep Clemson's hope alive and keep them going deep into March Madness this March. The Nissan Armada's Team of the Week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Each week, our Locked On college basketball experts are picking one team that stands apart. From top-seeded stars to unexpected upsets, these guys showcased the strength and sheer power needed to push their team forward. This week's Armada clear-cut Team of the Week is the Florida Gators. The Gators, led by Walter Creighton, 70 points a game, just dominated the SEC tournament, winning each game by at least 9 points. Not only did Florida grab the fourth number one seed, but they're the nation's most efficient offense. When it comes to the Nissan Armada, they say go forth and conquer. And that's exactly what the Florida Gators have done here. It's clear that our Team of the Week is out there ready to conquer the road ahead with confidence, just like you can in the all-new Nissan Armada or any of Nissan's outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, Rogue, Pathfinder, and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. This show is also brought to you by Fabric. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps, and then before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in just 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent myself, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me that peace of mind. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help their families. Apply today in just minutes. Meet at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Price is subject to underwriting and health questions. Dell Jones, Chauncey Wiggins, and Jake Heidbreder are the make or break pieces for Clemson's tournament run this week and going into next week. We got to break it down for you. Dillon Hunter's hand injury has him out. We know that. It's massive. It's a huge blow. He's the guy, as I said in the last segment, he's the mesh guy. He's the grit guy. He keeps everyone together. And without him, honestly, Clemson's depth is on life support right now. The guys stepping up are not that. I don't even want to say that they're stepping up because they really, honestly, they aren't. And they need to. Let's start with Dell Jones. This is a young kid. He's a true freshman. He is a fearless shooter. He's sometimes, not taking all the best shots, but you love his confidence. Out there in Louisville in the semis, though, it seemed to kind of disappear. He couldn't hit his shots. He turned it over a little too much. He looked like he was kind of out of sorts. And that's just not going to work in the NCAA tournament. They got to turn it on. They need him to ditch the jumpers and slash to the rim. I want him to attack hard. I want him to pull the defenders. I want him to get either dump the ball out to Chase Hunter or Ian Shefflin, but I want him to get to the rim and I want him to get some fouls. I think that he can take over and he can drive to the lane. And I think that he would probably be my number one choice for the replacement for Dillon Hunter. To be honest with you, I don't like the other guys as much. I think they really are struggling a little bit more. So Dell Jones will be my number one shot. He had a hot night earlier on this season against a lot of when he got in again in the ACC run in February. I liked him a lot. March is really his time. I think that he can shine. I really stumped for Chauncey Wiggins last week, and it kind of burned me. So I'm going to move over to Dell Jones in this case. But I can't ignore Chauncey Wiggins. To be honest with you, he's got to step us up as well. He's there, but is he really there? He's 6'10". He's an absolute matchup nightmare. He's long. He's athletic. He's got giant arms, wings of an eagle. He can dominate the glass, but he doesn't do that. He can do pull-up jumpers, and they look so silky smooth. He doesn't get any blocks. He doesn't get any steals. He doesn't get any assists. And he's not getting to the foul line. So when I saw 20 minutes of him play, he's not even throwing his hand up, ball. He's not even calling for the ball. Can he be the spark that Clemson needs? I believe he can. But you're not going to do that disappearing. So he's got to decide himself. Am I going to be a guy who this team can count on? Or am I just going to be lost into the history of Clemson basketball roster, nerds out there, oh yeah, remember that guy who played in the 2015 or 2025, 2024, really didn't do much. We thought he was good. You're going to be an afterthought, or are you going to be a tournament legend? You can do that. I mean, you can rewrite narratives every single game going forward because this is the postseason. Can Clemson get the spark from Chauncey Wiggins? Brownell stuck him at the top of the full court press at the end of the game, and I felt like he had the best part of his game was that. Now, you can't do that. I mean, you can't go back to that and play full court press for the entire game. I mean, maybe Oliver Purnell could, but he handled inbounders. He was getting steals. He was disrupting. He was causing some turnovers, even though he didn't get the steals himself, is what I should say. But his length can disrupt if he gets in the right mindset. And maybe that kind of, this is all or nothing mindset is great for him. Maybe he does great in the 2-minute warning kind of thing. Maybe he does great in that full court press kind of thing. Now, can they do that in the entire game? I wouldn't want them to do that the entire game, but he's got to bring that type of energy the entire game. Can he lock down on D? Can he crash the boards? Can he attack the rim? I think he can, but not if he doesn't really want to. So it's kind of a mental thing for him. I had a couple players that I know about when I coach youth ball, the same thing. And this is on softball, but I coach youth softball, but basketball, sports are the same. There are players out there that you just see, they're eat up with talent, God-given talent, just right out the womb, they're good. But in between their ears, they don't think they're good. I always told myself in my careers, don't be your biggest no, I mean, I never thought I'd be on the radio. I never thought I'd be at Locked On Clemson, but don't be your biggest no, right? Because if you are your biggest no, you're going to be the only person getting in your way. And that's a big person because you can't get around you. I don't think we should sleep on Jake Heidbreder as well. He's been uncharacteristically cold from 3-point range. He needs to step out and help this team as well. He's a sharpshooter. He's probably going to play off the bench. He's too easily out athleticized, if that makes any sense. I don't think he can hang with some of these really elite athletic teams like Louisville. He had a couple, they didn't break for him. He had a couple good shots, couple open shots against Louisville, but they didn't break for him. And that really hurt Clemson, really could help them. And in a close game, it ended up being a close game, but not just in the close game part, but in that part where there were like 6 or 7 minutes where they couldn't get a shot off. He's got to step up. And it really relieves a lot of that pressure on the other people on the team. And it also doesn't take as much effort to just go out there and drain a three from the perimeter. That's one of those things where you don't have to get deep in the shot clock. You don't have to run a couple of sets for it. If you get your open look, it just takes 1 or 2 moves, 1 or 2 picks. You get your open look, boom, you hit that shot, move on to playing defense. Not only that, it gets the crowd involved. It gets your team amped as well. There's just something about a slam dunk or an open look three that just Drano, right? So he's got to get those. I want to see him get free from the screens and let it rain. He's got to flip the game, and he can flip the game if he catches fire. So to me, it goes back to you have Chase Hunter, but you can't just be frustrated at those other 3 guys. You can't be frustrated at Jones and Wiggins and Heidbreder, all week, because as Brad Brownell probably knows, I'm sure he knows, you got to count on those guys now. As frustrating as they have been, or they were against Louisville, and they have been at the end of the season, you got to count on them now. And what I would say to those guys, if they were here face-to-face with me, I would say, hey, you know what? You need to admit that the past couple of games have stunk. But what I want to tell you is, hey, you can rewrite the narrative. The postseason ball is completely different. Depth wins March. I'm telling you that. Star players also play a huge factor, but they can't do everything. Clemson will sink or swim based on the depth they have. And after this weekend, it kind of felt like, wow, Clemson doesn't have any more than 4 players. I know that that's not the case, but the team has to show us that. They have to prove to us that that's not the case. Is Clemson more than a 4-player team? I believe they are, but they got to prove it. All right, finishing up the show, we're going to talk about how Clemson can avoid a slow start against McNeese State. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And to be honest with you, I love Upwork, and I've used it myself, not only as an employer for things that I can't do and editing and stuff like that and marketing that I can't do, but I've also been a freelancer myself and doing graphic design and marketing on Upwork. And it has been a great experience for me personally. I would recommend it 10 out of 10. Posting a job is easy, free, and simple. And within a few days, you can have a lot of qualified candidates there for you. And even someone like me, hopefully that's a good thing. But visit upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's upwork.com, upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, Clemson's tournament survival hinges on their first opponent. I mean, you cannot ignore McNeese State, and a lot of fans are going to want to. I know that. But you're not going to be that fan because you watch Locked On College Basketball, you watch Locked On Clemson, and you're not going to be that fan that just says, oh, McNeese State, we're going to steamroll them. That could be the case, but I'm telling you, they're not going to be a pushover for sure. Tiger fans, I'm telling you, Brad Brownell looked kind of frustrated against Louisville, and the depth really, I'm sure, frustrated him. He had no good moves to go to. He literally tried everything. You can't blame Brad Brownell for what happened. He tried everything. Finally, the full court press seemed to work. The bench just did not show up. 4 points. It was killer. Nobody else really had anything. Chauncey Wiggins, we've already talked about. And the NCAA tournament is super important to be able to have depth. And against McNeese State Thursday afternoon, they've got to show up. They can make or break a game based on how they start out. McNeese State is hot. They're the Southland Conference champs. They're tearing through their league. They have defense that will smother you. They'll force you to make mistakes. They'll force you to, turn the ball over and get easily transition buckets, which you've seen and I've talked about. If you listen to this show, you know that's kind of an Achilles heel right now. Javon Garcia, a slick guard. He's deadly. He's got a great pull-up game. He makes clutch buckets when they need him. Shoemate is a rim-protecting beast who owns the paint, swats anything close to him. Their style is tough. Their style is physical defense. They want to crash the boards. They want to get extra shots as much as they can. They want to keep their pace, and they want to keep the game under their control. Clemson, I think, will need to start first and strike first. They cannot wait around to get everybody hot and get everybody work together. They've got to gel quickly on this. Rewind the last Elite Eight run. Clemson did really well to beat some teams that a lot of people felt like they couldn't beat. And they still have the talent on the team to go very deep and get to the Elite Eight again. Those wins revolved around leaders like Chase Hunter and Ian Shefflin owning the beginning of the game and allowing those, supplemental role players to get in and get their groove going too. Ian Shefflin is always going to be your rebounding monster. He's going to be your beast off the glass. He did it last tournament. He's going to do it again this tournament. Chase Hunter, is going to be that leader. He's going to come up clutch when you need him the most, but he can't do everything. So without his brother, they're a little bit thin, but they need to strike early. So first thing for me, strike early. Who's going to do that? For me, I think it needs to be Dell Jones. I'm going to say Dell Jones needs to drive the bucket and dump off to Wiggins, or dump off to Shefflin, dump off to Victor Locken. When Dell Jones gets tired, I think it needs to be Chauncey Wiggins. He needs to come in and he needs to change up and be aggressive in that defense. And maybe they need to go to a full court press when he's out there. Whatever they did in that, it seemed like it worked for him. And if he can clean up his looks from deep, he has a very good shot himself. Very smooth, very clean. McNeese State's, he is a nightmare against McNeese State's defense. They're not going to be able to play him that tight if he's confident in shooting. But if not, then you have to go to Jake Heidbreder, and he needs to be a guy who is, he needs to get, the Kobe Bryant warm up. He needs to go out there and warm up with 10,000 shots. He needs to be as ready as possible. And I'm not just saying this. I'm saying this for McNeese State, but I'm saying this for every team that they play, and I'm hoping that they can continue going. I'm hoping that Thursday night is not the end of the run for this team. Pick and rolls, to get Chase Hunter open, pick and rolls to get Jake Heidbreder open. And I think, driving to the lane and dumping off to Shefflin or Locken is going to be great. They also have to avoid foul trouble. As we know, this team, we've talked about it this whole episode, depth is a concern. So getting into foul trouble, not a way to go for sure. Parker, Richards, Garcia, those guys are guys that are going to stretch you. Joe Charles, you got to watch out for him. Keep their big guys out of the paint for sure. Shut down the perimeter. Jaden Zachary is a great defender, and he needs to hound Garcia, Parker, whoever they put him up against. He needs to make them uncomfortable. He needs to force bad passes. And, whoever it is, if it's Chauncey Wiggins, they got to be like freaking glue on DJ Richards. I mean, this guy is an absolute sharpshooter. We talked about him on Monday's show. He shoots like 45% from three. He loves to light it up, and he will absolutely freaking light it up on you. You need to chase him off the line. You need to chase him out of the spots that he likes. Give him absolutely no freaking daylight, because a guy like this can kill your dreams. And I'm not just talking about Clemson. I'm talking about this kind of team with a guy like that can go Cinderella mode on you and freaking go all the way. And you got to be very careful. Now, I'm hyping them up a ton. I do still have a lot of confidence in Clemson. I don't want you to think that Clemson doesn't have all the talent they need to beat this team and to win by 7 or 14 points. I think that they do. But McNeese State is not a team that you're going to sleep on, because you're a fan of this show and you know that you're not going to do that, because I've told you that. Win the boards. That's always a key for Clemson. Shefflin, Locken got to muscle out everybody. And it'd be nice if Chauncey Wiggins would actually get in there and get some stats in the rebound game too. I mean, you're freaking 6'10". Let's do something there. I mean, let's step it up. Let's rewrite the narrative. Let's go out there and let's get the rebounds. Let's get the assists. Let's get some blocks. You're 6'10". All right. So when you're out there, I want you to nail it down and be aggressive and be confident, because everybody in Clemson Nation loves Chauncey Wiggins and desires him to be one of the greatest players on the team. But he's got to want it more than the fans want it. Set the freaking tone. Clemson does that. They've done that all season. They can do it again. They've done it in the ACC. They can do it again. They've done it against the best teams in the country like Duke. They can do it again. I'm telling you right now, do not count out McNeese State, but set the tone early and you'll keep them in check. Hit them with a full court press if you have to out the start. I loved it. I mean, I'm drooling all over it. Clemson just needs to execute. I think Brad Brownell is a guy who's earned our trust in being able to call a gritty game, to focus his guys, to keep them fighting, to have the right lineups, to try things when they're not working. I think that Brad Brownell has earned our trust here. But it goes back to what I've been saying for the past 2 weeks. They've got, now is the time where, how are they remembered? Are they remembered as just a team that beat up on a bad ACC team that was good but not great? Or are they going to be remembered as a team that was Brad Brownell's best team ever, Clemson's best team ever? Because that's what's hanging in the balance here. You drop against McNeese State, and I'm telling you, 35-40% chance for a 12 to upset a 5. Historically, one has always done, and I think in the past 7 years, one has always at least upset. So that's a big deal here. You cannot be ready for this game. You've got to be prepared. And I think Brad Brownell will be, and he's earned our trust with that. So for me, Dell Jones, my number one rotation in. I like that. Get Wiggins in there and do the press, and hopefully get Heidbreder in there and shoot the freaking lights out. Dillon Hunter's out. I know that. But the tournament hopes are still alive. The dreams of getting to the Final Four are still alive. So don't let the light go out for you, Clemson fan, because it has been a really fun ride. As much as I have been pushing this team to take it to the next level, it has been a great ride. It has been a lot of great wins this season, and been fun overall for sure. Hopefully Clemson can continue this run, and it's not the end this week. I don't think it will be. I won't give you my prediction until maybe Thursday, and then we'll go from there. But more basketball talk. We're going to get in hopefully some baseball talk, and maybe even some football talk the rest of the week. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On College Basketball Show with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here. You know it. So be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.